Right, for this second section on the daily rules, we have an example here just to finish off that one before where we've got no break, and as I said earlier, you've got breaks, so you can have either or. Then we've got the scenario where we've got a multi-tier overtime rule. So in this particular case, we're saying that the employee, the first 8 hours in a day is ordinary time, the next 2 hours is time and a half, and everything else is double time. Now, there are different rate thresholds for time and a quarter, time and a half, double time, triple time, another couple of other varieties that we've got in here. Typically, the ordinary time, time and a half, and double are the most common ones. So you can have any options you've got here. The key to this is if you're going to use this option here, you must have a total of 24 hours across the day. So if we look at this one here, we're only having a single rate threshold. Just all 24 hours go to ordinary time. In this case, we have 8, 2, and 14, totaling 24 hours. So that's the normal working with the overtime thresholds. The other options you got in here are for a casual roster. So this is very similar. It's exactly the same setup as far as this one. The difference is that if you set up a casual rule, it means when the employee is allocated to that casual rule for a particular day of the week, if they don't work, the system doesn't alert you. It doesn't tell you that because it's not got any expectation that they are going to work normally. So it's not a normal working day, it's a casual day. We are merely using this to set up a set of rules so that if the employee does happen to turn up to work on that day, then TimeHub knows what to do with their times. Because if they don't have a daily rule, it can't figure out whether it's a start or finish time or whether there should be a meal break or overtime, etc. So that's why we would have the casual rule. So for example, when we're setting up our rostered day off, if I can stop that blue stuff coming, if I go down here to my RDO, so my rostered day off is where we set that up as casual. So we're setting up a rule here just in case that the employee who is rostered off does turn up to work, then TimeHub will know what to do with their times. The third option in here is the paid time off. So if I look at, for example, alternative leave. So in this particular case, we've got an alternative leave here, which is paid time off. So we're saying that if I use this particular rule against an employee for a day, now normally I wouldn't roster that on a permanent basis, but it's an ad hoc roster. So again, I've got the same thing with holiday pay. So we give it a code. We would say, okay, this is a full, tag it as a full day or part days holiday pay or sick pay or alternative leave or bereavement leave, etc. So we've got options for all of those in here. And then we set up what the default units are. So in this case, we're paying the holiday pay by hours. So we set up a default for our employees of 8 hours so that if I then go and roster that on an ad hoc basis to an employee, then the system knows to pay them 8 hours. I can also set that threshold to 0, or I can set it to 1. If I pay my leave in days, then it would be 1 as opposed to 8 for a full time. Or if I'm doing it in part days, again, I can do it as 4 or I can do it as 0.5 depending on the scenario. So you don't have to populate this. You can leave it as 0. In which case, whenever you are rostering that leave type, the system will ask you how many hours you want that to be because we're not putting in a start and finish time. We're just letting the system pay a certain number of units. And you'll see that in a bit more depth when we get into the maintenance part of the system.